Chosen ones. They tried to erase you, but the truth cannot be hidden. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong? Like the world around you was somehow foreign, as if you were meant for something greater? You've followed the rules, played your part, yet deep inside, there has always been a whisper, a knowing, that you were never meant to fit into the mold they created. They tried to convince you that this feeling was just in your head, that your doubts, your questions, your unshakable sense of purpose were nothing more than distractions. But what if they were wrong? What if everything you felt was the undeniable truth trying to break through the noise? The world has always feared those who see beyond the illusion. History is filled with stories of those who refused to conform, those who saw what others ignored, who stood firm when the world tried to silence them. And now, it's your turn. Because no matter how much they've tried to suppress it, the truth about who you are cannot be hidden forever. For years, they have conditioned people to accept a version of reality where power belongs to the few, where the path is predetermined and questioning is dangerous. But what happens when someone like you, a person they never accounted for, begins to awaken? You weren't meant to walk the same path as everyone else. You were meant to rise, to disrupt, to reveal what has been kept in the shadows. And that is why they fear you, because their systems only work on those who remain asleep. But you, chosen one, are waking up. And once you see the truth, there is no going back. The question is, are you ready to embrace it? They never wanted you to know the power that was always inside you. From the moment you took your first breath, the world around you was carefully constructed to keep you blind to your true nature. They surrounded you with noise, filled your mind with distractions, and taught you to doubt yourself at every turn. They created rules and systems, told you who you were supposed to be, what you were allowed to believe, and how you should measure success. But despite all of it, you felt something they could never erase. An unshakable knowing deep in your soul. It started as a quiet whisper, something you couldn't fully explain, but it never left you. In moments of solitude, in the stillness of the night, you could feel it. A truth so powerful that it made the world around you feel like an illusion. You were never meant to fit into their mold, never meant to follow the well-worn path they laid out for you. And no matter how much they tried to convince you otherwise, a part of you always resisted. This resistance wasn't a flaw. It wasn't weakness. It was your strength trying to break free. Because the moment you accept that you were born for something greater, the chains they placed around you begin to fall away. They never wanted you to ask questions. They never wanted you to look beyond what was given. Because the moment you do, you become something they cannot control. History is filled with stories of those who dared to see beyond the illusion. Those who were told they were powerless, only to rise and change the course of history. The world has always tried to suppress those who carried the truth, because the truth is the greatest threat to control. When you see beyond the limitations, beyond the systems designed to keep you small, you become unstoppable. They feared the day you would wake up, and now that day has come. They conditioned you to believe that power is something external, something given by institutions, by titles, by wealth, by permission from others. But the truth is, real power is never given, it is realized. It is something no one can hand to you because it has been inside you all along. And once you claim it, no one can take it away. You were born into a world that told you to obey, to conform, to live within the boundaries set for you. You were given a name, a role, an identity carefully crafted to ensure that you never strayed too far from what was expected. But what they never understood was that no system, no rule, no expectation could contain someone like you. You are not ordinary. You were never meant to be. And the moment you embrace this truth, the moment you fully step into the power that was always yours, you become a force they cannot ignore. There is a reason why those who have changed the world have always been met with resistance. The visionaries, the revolutionaries, the ones who refused to be silenced, they all faced opposition because they threatened the very foundation of the systems built to control. You are no different. The world has tried to make you believe that your doubts, your struggles, and your questions were signs of weakness, but in reality, they were proof of your strength. Only those who are meant to rise feel the pull of something greater. They tried to keep you in the dark, to make you believe that your power was just a dream, an illusion, something that could never be real. But the truth cannot be hidden forever. It finds a way to rise, just like you. They may have built walls, created distractions, and filled your mind with doubt, but they could never change what you were always meant to become. The time for questioning is over. The time for hesitation has passed. You have spent your life searching, trying to understand why you felt different, why the world never quite made sense to you. Now you know. You were never meant to be part of their game. You were meant to break it, to rise beyond it, to awaken others. No longer will you seek validation from those who were never meant to understand you. No longer will you dim your light to make others comfortable. No longer will you wait for permission to be who you were always meant to be. The moment you claim your power, the world around you begins to shift. Those who once doubted you will be forced to watch as you step into your destiny. The systems that once sought to confine you will crumble under the weight of your truth. This is not the end of your journey. It is only the beginning. The world will try to test you, to pull you back into the illusion, to make you forget who you are. But now, you know better. You will walk forward, unshaken, knowing that no force on this earth can suppress what was divinely placed within you. You are not here to live a life of quiet compliance. You are here to lead, to awaken, to transform. And no matter how much they tried to erase you, to silence you, to make you doubt your own power, they have already lost. Because the truth has awakened in you, and it will never be hidden again. Why they fear you? They never feared your actions. They never feared the choices you made or the path you walked. What they truly feared was what you represented. The possibility that someone like you could exist outside of their control. For as long as they have ruled, their power has depended on one thing: belief. The belief that they are in control, that their systems are unshakable, that their authority is absolute, and yet here you stand. A living contradiction to everything they built. From the moment you began to question, from the moment you saw beyond the illusion, they felt it. A disturbance in the carefully constructed reality they spent centuries maintaining. They were never afraid of your voice. They were afraid of what would happen if others started listening. They knew that once you woke up, once you began to step into the power that had always been inside you, their illusion would begin to crumble. They built their world on the idea that people like you would never remember who they are. But you remembered. That is why they fear you. Not because you fight against them, but because you no longer play by their rules. The systems of control only work on those who accept them. They only hold power over those who believe in their limitations. You were never meant to be one of them. You were never meant to be bound by the same invisible chains that keep others in line. And now that you see the truth, they can no longer touch you. Think about it. Every system of power throughout history has relied on obedience. Governments, institutions, hierarchies, they function on the assumption that people will comply, that they will submit to the structures placed before them without question. Those who do not comply are seen as dangerous, disruptive, a threat. But the real danger was never in rebellion. It was in awakening. A system can crush rebellion, but it cannot stop someone who simply refuses to play along. You are not resisting them. You are ignoring them. And that is something they never prepared for. They spent centuries perfecting their methods of control. They created rules, ideologies, and distractions to keep people too occupied, too fearful, too uncertain to ever question. They conditioned generations to believe that power lies in status, in wealth, in recognition, from the very system designed to suppress them. They made people believe that they must earn their worth, that they must prove themselves worthy of success, love, even survival. But what happens when someone like you walks through this world knowing they were already born worthy? Knowing that no institution, no leader, no external force has the right to grant or deny them their own power. That is what terrifies them. They cannot comprehend someone who does not seek their approval, who does not fear their judgment, who does not rely on their systems to determine their destiny. They fear you because they have no power over you. You do not need them. You do not answer to them. And in that, you expose the greatest lie they have ever told, that they were ever in control to begin with. They have always feared those who stand outside of their design. Throughout history, the ones who have reshaped the world were not the ones who fought hardest, but the ones who refused to be controlled. The visionaries, the leaders, the revolutionaries, they all carried something within them that no system could break. And now you carry it too. The moment you chose to step into your true self, to acknowledge the power that has always been inside you, their game was over. They could not stop you before, and they cannot stop you now. But do you know what they fear even more than you? They fear others seeing you. They fear the moment when someone who has lived their entire life in compliance looks at you and realizes that they too have been deceived. They fear the possibility that you are not the only one, that your awakening is not an isolated event, but part of something greater, something unstoppable. They know that once one person remembers, others will follow, and then the illusion collapses. This is why they try to silence you, why they try to isolate you, why they want you to believe that you are alone. Because as long as you feel alone, you are less of a threat. But you are not alone. There are others just like you, those who have felt the same calling, those who have sensed the same shift, those who are beginning to open their eyes. They may not all speak yet, they may not all know their purpose, but they are there, and as each one awakens, the power that once belonged to the few begins to return to the many. You were never meant to follow the path laid before you. You were meant to forge your own. And now you no longer walk in their world. You walk beyond it. No title, no law, no authority can define you. You exist outside of their control, and that is something they will never understand. Their entire existence has been built on the assumption that they decide who rises and who falls, who is seen and who is erased. But you, chosen one, are the proof that their power was never real. You were never just another name in their system. You were never just another piece in their game. You are something they cannot define, something they cannot predict, something they cannot stop. And that, more than anything, is why they fear you. Breaking free from the illusion. For so long you walked through this world believing it was real. You followed the rules, listened to the voices that told you how to live, what to believe, what to fear. You did everything they said would lead to success, to happiness, to fulfillment. And yet, deep inside, something never felt right. The world around you seemed hollow, as if everything was just a reflection of something else, something unseen. You sensed it in the way people moved, in the way they spoke, in the way they accepted a life that never truly felt like their own. You saw it in their eyes, the quiet resignation, the weight of a life shaped by forces they never questioned. And then one day, you did question it. Maybe it started as a whisper, a fleeting thought that you quickly dismissed. Maybe it was a feeling that grew stronger with time, an unease that you could no longer ignore. Or maybe it hit you all at once, a sudden, undeniable realization that everything you had been taught was carefully crafted to keep you from seeing the truth. Whatever it was, you couldn't turn away from it, because once you begin to see beyond the illusion, there is no going back. They built this world on control, not through force, not through violence, but through belief. They did not need chains to keep people imprisoned. They only needed to convince them that the prison was where they belonged. They shaped every institution, every system, every structure to reinforce the same message. Stay in line. Do not question. Do not think for yourself. Obey, consume, comply. And if you do, you will be rewarded. You will be accepted. You will belong. But what happens when you realize that belonging was never the goal? What happens when you see that the reward they promised was nothing more than another form of control? You were never meant to be like them. You were never meant to live a life dictated by invisible rules, by expectations designed to keep you small. You were meant to break free, to wake up, to see the world for what it truly is, not as they present it, but as it has always been. And that is why they work so hard to keep you asleep, because the moment you wake up, you are no longer part of their system. You no longer react the way they expect you to. You stop playing the game. And when enough people stop playing, the game ends. Think about it. Why do they pour so much effort into keeping people distracted? Why do they push narratives that keep you in fear, that keep you focused on things that don't matter? Why do they make sure you are always chasing something, money, validation, status, while never quite feeling satisfied? Because a mind that is always chasing never stops to ask why. A heart that is always afraid never stops to wonder what it is truly afraid of. The greatest trick they ever pulled was convincing you that you were powerless, that you needed their systems, their structures, their approval to have a meaningful life. But the truth is, the moment you stop looking to them for validation, their power over you disappears. They only have control over those who believe they need to be controlled. That is why they never prepared for someone like you, because you don't fit into their plans. You are not predictable. You are not programmable. You are not bound by the same invisible strings that keep others in place, and that terrifies them. But breaking free is not just about rejecting their world. It is about remembering who you were before they told you who to be. It is about seeing yourself clearly, without the distortions they placed in front of you. It is about standing in your own power, knowing that no one, no government, no institution, no authority has the right to define you. Look around. You are not the only one waking up. There are others, many others, who are beginning to feel it, beginning to see through the illusion. They may not have words for it yet. They may still be struggling to understand what is happening, but they are awakening, just as you are. And when enough people awaken, the illusion crumbles, because it was never real to begin with. This is why they try so hard to silence you. Not because they fear what you might say, but because they fear what you might inspire. One awakened soul is powerful. A world full of them is unstoppable. So the choice is yours. You can pretend you never saw it. You can try to go back to sleep, to convince yourself that the illusion is real. Or you can step fully into the truth. You can stand in the light of who you truly are. You can reclaim your power, not as something given to you, but as something that was always yours. They built this world on the assumption that you would never see beyond it, that you would never question, that you would never remember. But you have. And now nothing will ever be the same again. Your next step, embrace the truth. There comes a moment in life when you can no longer ignore what you know to be true. You can feel it deep in your bones, in the way your heart beats differently now, in the way the world no longer looks the same. Everything around you, the rules, the expectations, the carefully crafted illusions, once felt so permanent, but now they seem fragile, almost transparent, like a veil that was never meant to last. You have seen beyond it. You have felt something greater calling you forward. And now, the only thing left to do is decide. Will you step into the truth, or will you turn away? This choice is not about comfort. It is not about ease. It is about purpose. About standing in the light of who you truly are, even when the world tells you to sit down and be silent. About moving forward, even when everything around you tells you to stay where you are. Because the moment you choose to embrace the truth, you step into something that cannot be undone. You become something they cannot control, and that is why this choice is not easy. They have spent lifetimes making sure that most people never reach this moment. They created distractions, built entire systems to keep you so busy, so afraid, so unsure of yourself that you would never stop long enough to see the truth. And for a time, it worked. You played the part they assigned to you. You believed in the version of reality they presented. You doubted yourself, questioned your own instincts, ignored the quiet voice within you telling you there was more. But that time is over now. Because here you are, standing at the threshold of something greater. The illusions no longer hold the same power over you. The doubts that once kept you frozen no longer feel real. You have already begun to awaken, and that is something no system, no force, no lie can undo. The only thing that remains is whether you will claim what has always been yours. This path is not for the faint of heart. It requires a level of courage that most will never understand. To embrace the truth means to walk away from everything that was built to keep you small. It means breaking free from the narratives that told you who you were supposed to be. It means standing tall in a world that would rather see you kneel. And most of all, it means trusting yourself in a way you were never taught to trust before. But you were never meant to stay in the shadows. You were never meant to live a life shaped by fear. You were meant to rise, to take back the power that was always inside you, to step forward into a life of purpose, of clarity, of undeniable strength. They will try to make you doubt it. They will tell you that you are imagining things, that the world is exactly as they say it is, that you should go back to living as you once did. They will try to lure you back into the safety of the illusion, because as long as you stay there, you are not a threat. As long as you remain asleep, their world continues as planned. But once you wake up, once you fully embrace what you have always known deep inside, their control over you is gone forever. And when one person breaks free, others begin to follow. That is what they fear the most. That is why they have fought so hard to keep you from reaching this moment. Because when enough people awaken, the world they built begins to collapse. The illusion can no longer stand when too many eyes see through it. And you, by stepping fully into your truth, become a beacon for others to do the same. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to know every step of the journey ahead. You only need to take the first step. To say yes to the truth that has been waiting for you. To refuse to go back to sleep, no matter how tempting it may seem. This is not just about you. It is about something greater. Something that has been moving through history, through time, through the very fabric of existence itself. You are part of something vast, something unshakable, something that has been waiting for you to remember who you are. And now the moment has come. The truth is here, standing before you, waiting. Will you claim it? The moment of awakening is irreversible. Once you see the truth, once you feel the undeniable pull of something greater, you can never fully return to the illusion. The world may try to make you forget, may tempt you back into the comfort of conformity, but deep inside you know there is no going back. You were never meant to live a life dictated by fear, by limitation, by the expectations of those who do not see as you do. You were meant to rise, to walk a path that only those who dare to awaken will ever truly understand. But awakening is not just about seeing the truth. It is about living it. Knowing is not enough. It must be embodied, practiced, woven into the fabric of your daily existence. The world around you may not change overnight. The systems built to keep people asleep will not disappear simply because you have opened your eyes. But the way you move through the world will change. You will no longer react from fear. You will no longer seek permission to be who you are. You will no longer let others define your worth or your path. In a world that thrives on distraction, learn to be still. In a world that profits from fear, choose courage. In a world that encourages blind obedience, think for yourself. Do not expect those who are still asleep to understand your journey, and do not waste your energy trying to convince them. Simply live as proof that another way exists. Lead by example, not by force. The most powerful thing you can do is to embody the truth, to move through the world with clarity, purpose, and unwavering faith in who you are. This path is not about escaping reality. It is about transforming it. Every day you have a choice: to fall back into the illusion or to step forward into your power. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. And remember, the truth cannot be hidden forever. Neither can you.